Well, good Sunday morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Well, you can follow the rules, you can play by the rules, but sometimes the rules change. And when they do, it can cost you, but it can also cost the City of Laredo.
But the lawsuit was never about building a tractor-trailer storage or a warehouse. What the lawsuit was about the city's use of power to prevent us from being able to develop our property lawfully.
Well, in an exclusive KGNS On Your Side report, we took a closer look at how a nearly $6 million taxpayer payout exactly came to be, including serious questions raised through depositions and sworn testimony. The settlement stems from a lawsuit filed by Gubagreen Industrial, a company that purchased 17 acres of land across from Muller Elementary. The property had already gone through the normal approval process, but a city-passed ordinance, one that did not exist when the company purchased the land, was later put in place. Testimony shows it was purchased, or rather pushed, by a council member who directly contacted multiple city department heads, bypassing normal planning review and eventually leading to the restricted development of the property, which set the stage for the legal dispute. We reached out to District 7 Council member Vanessa Perez during our investigation, who only referred us to the city attorney. In a statement, when asked whether she used her position to influence department directors or if she circumvented the planning and zoning, the city attorney said, quote, "She did not." However, following the airing of our report, Perez took to her district Facebook page and released a statement. In a lengthy post, she defended the results of the lawsuit, saying her campaign platform when she ran for office was to fight against land development practices and to fix the zoning and land issues in her district. She also welcomed the purchase, saying the lawsuit settlement was not a loss and noting that the case never went to trial. She also said the land purchase was an opportunity to address more needs in the district. And you can watch our full report right now on our website at kgns.tv. And that's where we begin this morning's discussion. We are joined by former City of Laredo Council member Poncho Caso and KGNS General Manager Luis Villarreal. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy
Poncho.
New Year. And Happy New Year to all of Laredo.
Absolutely. So we began there, Poncho, and we wanted your perspective, first of all, on something that I just noted right now about council members reaching out and directly to city department heads. You know, I know that you're very familiar with the charter and what the charter says. What does the charter say?
The charter says you can't interfere with the administration. You can't speak to any department head. You can't call them. And the reason that they have that in the city charter so that you don't have basically 9 other city managers, because you only have 1 city manager. So the only person you can call and talk to is the city manager. You have to speak to him if there's something you don't like. Now, if you want to go around that because you feel the city manager is giving you the runaround, then you can invoke Section 206 of the city charter and basically subpoena any department you want, request information, and put them on the hot seat and bring them up before the council.
Okay.
And you know, that's the other way, you know, how you can get around it. But yeah, you can't interfere because then, you know, you're not going to know what the right hand's doing versus the left hand. And so you can't have 9 other chiefs out there when you already have the city manager, because we're a council manager type of government, not a mayor, you know, type of government like New York. New York has a strong mayor, but here we don't. You know, it's a weak mayor with a city manager that runs all the operations.
Right. Well, you know, I want to talk a little bit about some of what Council Member Vanessa has been saying, that all of this was for the good of the children, and you know, the means justify the ends. You know, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, listen, I don't know that anybody's going to sit here and argue that we shouldn't consider the safety of the community or the health of the community, and yes, it is incumbent upon our elected officials to take care of us. I get that, and you know, that's not the issue here. The issue is whether things were done properly and, as you said at the beginning, Mindy, by the rules. And I guess, you know, we can sit here and discuss whether or not in the end the result matters or doesn't matter. I don't think anybody's disputing that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and when you say that the means justify the ends or the ends justify the means, that has negative connotations. It's almost Machiavellian. You're not going to, it's first of all, we have a city charter. It's basically the Constitution of Laredo. You have to follow it. If you don't follow it, you're undermining the entire local government structure, and you're going to have legal repercussions for everyone involved, which is what happened here, because they went around the process. They didn't, like you mentioned, Mindy, they didn't present these ordinances before the P&Z, which has to do with a comprehensive plan. There's a reason that all of that is in place, and when you go around it, you're basically behaving like a tyrant.
Is this a one-off situation, Poncho? I guess what I mean is, while you were serving, or, you obviously have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience and history with city government. Does this happen a lot? Or is this, is this something that is common practice? Are our council members encouraged by history to do this type of
to interfere with?
To interfere.
Well, I'll tell you what the real problem in Laredo is, and it's just that what we ought to have is a workshop, and every new elected official that gets in there, perhaps the city attorney's office should be the one conducting it, but the problem
maybe
is,
even a test, right?
they don't even, the city attorney is violating it also. They're violating it also. That's the problem here. Because the city attorney is playing politics.
How is the city attorney?
Because the city attorney, in your story, he was saying that Vanessa did nothing wrong. How can he say that? When you have Joe Neve saying that you can interfere, and he's saying that she did nothing wrong.
Right. Clearly in the story, and I want to make clear that everything in the story was taken right out of the deposition. So we weren't making anything up. It was word for word. People could see the graphic there. And there were a lot of surprised city department heads, as it was noted in the deposition, that said, this isn't normal. Why is the fire chief being reached out to, for a plat? That's not normal.
She was targeting a certain business, and as you read in the paper just 2 days ago, there's a lot of transportation companies closing here, and you just can't do that. You can't target. If it really was truly about the safety of the kids, well, then why don't we consider moving to school? That's very expensive, but if the safety is paramount and really nothing else matters, move to school.
And that's been done before. Salinas Elementary was moved. They have a new location now, right off of Cuatro.
And I find it
it's not anything that has not been done before.
And I find it hypocritical that they say it's for the safety of the kids, when many of us went before the school board on that COVID disinfectant contract that resulted in the feds, raiding the school district. We went before the board, so they're giving themselves contracts. Well, what about the safety of the kids with the chemicals that were spraying? So it's very hypocritical for them to say it's for the safety of the children. We all know it's politics because there's a board member that ran against Vanessa, council member Vanessa Perez, and there's the problem, the politics. They don't want to put their politics aside to collaborate and work together.
Well, and I do want to talk a little bit about how this case began. So this case began many, many years ago, and we've been following it since, I'm going back to text messages, emails that we had addressed with the City of Laredo, going back to April 11th of 2024. So this was, a couple of years ago, where we reached out to ask City Manager Neb for an interview because of an injunction that had just been won by the Gubagreen folks, and it was in the 406 District Court. There's been 2 injunctions, trying to stop this ordinance, and both time the court ruled in favor of Gubagreen. So, and basically the court at the end of the day said that there was enough evidence here. By law, everybody has to go to mediation, so the parties needed to go to mediation, but Judge Oscar Hale had noted that after considering the evidence presented at the hearing, it looked like if this were going to go to trial, it would go in favor of Gubagreen. So because of that, in mediation, there was no other choice but to settle and purchase the property. So that's what they ended up having to do for $5.9 million, which now it's being turned into a parking lot.
Just for clarification, this is not a fine or a penalty. This was a settlement that was reached, and they, the city said, okay, we'll just buy the property and all bets.
Because it would have cost more if it would have gone to trial, more than likely, maybe twice as much.
Exactly.
And they would have gotten damages and so forth. So $6 million for 17 acres is just way too much. And you know what? It didn't really solve the problem. So
No.
you bought a parking lot. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I've gone to the school over there, but you bought a parking lot, and I don't understand how that's really going to help the congestion and all the problems that are associated with the reason that they didn't want this business there in the first place.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't. It's not a solution. At the end of the day, we have to stay focused on, you know, what is the solution, and to find a solution, you have to identify the problem first. And so, what's the problem? But that, you know, the problem wasn't that maybe the school shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I want to talk about another post that Councilwoman Vanessa wrote on her social media page. She says in that same post, she says she defended her actions by advocating for a more aggressive use of council authority to regulate zoning and land use. So she talks a little bit about this, kind of talking about why she did what she did, and this goes back to the city charter, which, you know, Poncho, of course, you're telling us that this is absolutely unacceptable.
It is. I mean, there's a process for everything, and the reason, you know, they just don't follow the charter, and there's a process for this because you have to have due process, and not only that, they didn't just violate the charter, but they violated the U.S. Constitution because you can't deprive somebody of their private property.
Poncho, correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you, but so there was still a vote associated with this, and I know we've been focusing a lot on Councilman Perez, but the entire council voted.
Unanimous.
Unanimously.
And one person abstained, which I don't understand why.
And so, you know, at that point, it's like, okay, so even then, the other council members could have stepped in and say, wait a second, something's not
Exactly, and that's why you
working
have
here.
checks and balances. You have debate. I mean, why didn't the mayor exercise the leadership, and why didn't the other council members step in and say, hey, I'm not going to go along with this, and vote against it, and debate the issue, and be very, very forthright about it and strong about
Transparent,
it,
yeah.
and put the city attorney on the hot seat because obviously he's not giving them, you know, to me it's legal malpractice what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue talking about this. So when we come back, city leaders talk about the lessons learned and what they wouldn't do if they had to do it all over again. Stay with us. Well, city leaders had a few words to say after having to purchase the property for almost $6 million, $5.9 million to be exact.
It's not the best use of the city's money, but at the end of the day, we got ourselves into this legal dilemma, and ultimately we went with the option of the least bad option available.
That is a conversation that's been happening at Planning and Zoning, as well as the City Council is doing our land development a little bit differently than what we have in the past.
There's always a learning curve. There's always situations where we learn.
Well, those thoughts came after some reflection following the settlement, sparking discussion on legal advice, property rights, and how the city approaches future planning decisions. Some officials said the experience changed in how they seek and rely on legal counsel in similar situations. Others emphasized the, the importance of protecting property rights when making city decisions, and others pointed to the need to consider long-term impact of development. However, officials acknowledge those lessons came at a cost paid for by city taxpayers from the city's reserve fund. Now, following the broadcast of our report, the city manager addressed some of the city's perspectives in the Gubagreen lawsuit. In his City Vision in Focus newsletter, the city manager explained that the court did not issue a final ruling that it acted illegally, but had issued rulings that could indicate meaningful liability if the court went to trial. City Manager Joe Nebb also explained that the city explored multiple options with several factors in mind, but said the most responsible solution was to buy the property at its appraised value. He also took strong defense to the purchase, not calling it a $6 million loss, but a real asset that would eliminate litigation risk. Now, of course, as always, you can watch part 2 of our exclusive On Your Side report right now on our website. And we're going to continue with the former council member Poncho Caso with this discussion. Poncho, let's talk a little bit about what Councilman King said about the advice that they were given by the city attorney.
Yeah, he said that the solution perhaps would be to seek outside counsel next time Well, that's not the solution. The solution is just to replace the city attorney if you don't have any confidence in him to provide you with, good legal counsel. That's the solution, is to get rid of him. So, I mean, what are we going to do? Now we're going to have a city attorney that's making over $260,000, and you're going to hire outside legal counsel. I mean, and then the mayor says he's on a learning curve. I mean, that's just not, nobody's going to buy that.
I go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and again, we can focus on all these specific issues about this particular deal, and again, that is not at the heart of this thing. At the heart of this thing is the perceived abuse of power.
That's what it is,
right? I mean, and again, we can sit here and debate whether this is good for the community or not good for the community. I think everybody around this is missing the point. We try very hard, and it's a very muddied landscape out there, because anybody with a phone or anybody with a camera, anybody that has a pen considers themselves a journalist. We go above and beyond. We try to do things to the best of our ability by dotting the I's, crossing T's, investigating things, trying to ask the right questions. And when you approach somebody to get an answer and you get no comment, or I can't comment,
or you're ghosted,
or you're ghosted entirely, I don't understand how we can then be accused of not seeking the right information. Well, we asked for the right information.
Yeah.
We sought that information.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were not given that information. And it happens all the time.
Yeah.
This is not just, it's like, well, you didn't ask me. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And you
again,
didn't respond.
Or they won't give it to you, so they delay you by going to the Attorney General, and then you got to go through another step, and eventually you're going to get it anyway. And I want to congratulate you, Mindy, for breaking with a story, because, I saw some of the comments on social media where you were badly maligned, but what they do is they don't focus on the issue. The issue was there was an abuse of power that could have been avoided. They didn't follow the charter. The charter needs to be followed. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why it exists, and they just don't care about it, and they're just going to do whatever they want, and that's why you have the problems that you have right now.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that there is a pattern with Councilman Perez where she does not answer text messages, not just from me, but some of my colleagues in the newsroom. I can go back, and I went back into my phone to look at all the different dates and all the different questions that I had asked her about different stories. So they go back to December of 2023, asked a question, sent her a text wanting a response on a health authority issue, no response. May 2nd, 2024, district priority funds, no response to secure an interview. May 6th, just a couple of days later, again, district priority funds, she didn't respond. Then another one on district priority funds, September 3rd. Then another one on October 2nd, no response. So all of these, no response, totally ghosted. And then November 3rd of 2025, Gubagreen case, she denied an in-person interview. She sent in a statement about the kids, and everything that she did was for the kids. And then on November 6th, when I asked about the specific questions about the city charter, I got no response, just sent an email saying that the attorney would be answering the questions. So there is definitely a pattern here of no response. So we try very hard to get the other side, or just to get another perspective. But when we are not given this, then we go with the interviews that we are given. And in this case, her colleagues gave interviews on the Gubagreen case, and of course, Mr. Neb did as well.
Yeah, there's sometimes, the biggest complaint that I hear is that a lot of these council members don't return calls. They just, you're supposed to return calls and don't run away from the press or the media.
Right.
You're there representing us, so why are you hiding?
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about what the city manager said. So I want to talk a little bit about this. He did address the abuse of power claim, saying that no court has issued a finding or internal investigation has been found for such abuse. He also said that if a city director believes that they are being directly ordered by a council member, they are obligated to report it to him. He also went on to say that no such complaint has ever been submitted. Now, I don't know how many city department heads are going to actually file a complaint. I've heard from many city department members that when they are called by city council members, that they feel intimidated by that. They sign their paychecks. They could be fired. So it's kind of foolish to say, well, because we haven't heard from any city council members, it doesn't happen. Because, Poncho, you can tell us that it does happen. And I've heard from city department heads that it happens all the time.
It does, and they're scared of political reprisals. That's why they're not going to speak out.
Well, you're
They're scared.
projecting.
And in fact, it's practically the entire community. Everybody's terrified. You speak out. People don't want to speak out. They're just scared. You know,
But it happens in other municipalities as well. I worked for UISD in my early career, and we got called all the time by board of trustees, and I wouldn't have complained.
In the
I don't want to lose
Valley,
my
they
job.
removed a council member for interfering. They took a vote and they removed a council member.
Well,
So it does happen.
I've always said that, we have a lot of issues, and I have a lot of respect and sympathy, and I applaud people that seek public service. It's a hard job. You're faced with terrible choices and decisions because you have to consider a lot of things. And so I don't want to sound like we don't appreciate the work that our council members and our elected officials do, but we have got to follow certain rules to make sure that things are being done properly. Fixing these types of problems sometimes hurts, but at some point, this is kind of a never-ending story, You've been involved in politics, for as long as I can remember, and you can go back and name instances of things like that.
Biggest complaint is that they're making us poor as a community. That's what I've been saying a long time. I called Bobby Paraguay, the chief appraiser, and I said, Bobby, how much would it cost to pay $6 million, this settlement? He says, it would take 4,700 homes valued at $250,000, or it would take 235
to generate the $6 million.
Yeah, or 235 warehouses valued at $5 million. So, if you own a home, that's the reason your street doesn't get paved in the front, because the money went to settle some incompetence or abuse of power. That's the way people need to look at it. You're paying these taxes, and sometimes you're not going to get a street because somebody just won a $6 million settlement, and it's not fair.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. What could have been done with $6 million that came out of the reserve fund? Taxpayer money.
They voted on tax notes recently, and they voted on tax notes. And and we've never issued tax notes. I even called the former city manager, Carlos Villarreal, and said, well, they're issuing tax notes, and tax notes are done for short-term deficit problems. So the city's having problems. And I'm going to have to go to court. Remember, I went to court for the bonds? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to go back because something's not right. And I feel the city is maybe not bankrupt, but like you said, they're siphoning money out of the reserves, and we're in a critical stage right now.
Okay, thank you on that note. Thank you, Poncho. Thank you, Luis. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's the one thing that our panelists cannot stop thinking about. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. It's the one thing our panelists cannot stop thinking about. Poncho.
Well, I'm looking forward to Sunday's football games.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Texans can go because my Cowboys they just can't get
We'll
their
have a
act
whole
together.
show about Cowboys soon, and
Okey-doke, Luis.
So, my one thing is, all right. So everybody loves fireworks. I thought they were illegal in city limits.
No.
Oh man.
There were so many
That's probably
fires.
a topic for another show, but it is it's one of those things. It's like we have these ordinances in place, and is there any ever enforcement?
They all went off
know.
at the same time, which it never happened when we were growing up.
It was an incredible display.
My
of
dog was
fireworks.
just staring at the wall like that. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we had football, we have fireworks, we have Stranger Things. Oh my gosh, it was the very last one. We have been down this road for many, many, many years. It all came to an end, and it was very emotional for many of us who watched it this past week, but definitely It's a great series. And
I have
if
not
you
seen
hadn't
one
seen
single
it,
episode of it.
it's a pretty neat. It's pretty neat, I have to say. It was really nice. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. We appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here. And of
Thank
course,
you.
Happy New Year to both of you. And Happy New Year to you all as well. We will see you right back here with another issue of Beyond the Headlines next Sunday. Until then, enjoy your week ahead.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.